afternoon, my name is Gaynor Robin and I have created for our Math Centre a developing fraction sense station. It will be for a pair of students beginning 4th grade, and they will have a strong foundation in fractions with manipulatives coming from 3rd grade. They may not, however, have a good sense, as we have a strong number sense about us, about fractions, and that's what I'm hoping that they will develop from this station. Some of the reading that we have done for class helped me develop a better sense of fractions using number lines and benchmarks, which I sort of avoided before in the classroom. So I'm hoping that this will help them. And this is just the beginning for me, so this would be a beginning for them. I'm starting off with directions. I've pinpointed the 2 student objectives. One, I want them to attempt to determine mentally first which of a pair of fractions from the fraction comparison cards is the largest, and then proceed to use the number line to verbally prove their theories using benchmarks such as 1/2, quarter, to assist. Students will discuss and record the reasoning behind their findings. So I have on my directions photos of what they see in front of them so that they will not get confused. I don't want them to spend a lot of their 25 minutes scrambling around trying to find what they're looking for. So here's a picture of the fraction strips. There's a picture here telling them how they can use the baggies. In the baggies we have the number 1, which is magnetized. All of the strips that are in the baggies are magnetized. We have halves, magnetized. We have quarters. There's basically 2 sets of everything. Thirds, fifths, sixths, and eighths. So they're all available for the students as needed. Second, they can use this template. I magnetized one of them, but the others are just available for their use. And they can use dry erase markers to indicate 0 and 1, or 0, 1, 2, as they wish. And there's another number line beneath it. This is all washable. Everything can come off with dry erase. Lastly, they can work directly on the board using one of the expo markers, drawing the number lines, drawing a second one if they want to, and erasing, cleaning up when they finish the center. One of the most critical things for this center is that the students discuss their reasoning. So first they have to make a mental guess. They have to think about a pair of fractions. We'll go through this procedure in a moment. And they have to choose which one they think is the largest. So they're looking at 2 fractions, and in their mind they need to be comparing, thinking of it perhaps on a number line, perhaps they'll do it another way. I'm thinking on a number line, which might be closer to half, which might be closer to 1 whole, and where is the difference between these 2 fractions? How much of a difference is there between these 2 fractions? So I'm trying to avoid them going to what their parents probably have taught them and which I grew up with, which is the lowest common denominator, and give them some strong fraction sense first. After they have mentally made a decision on what they are going on their choice, if it's larger, smaller, or equal to, then they will proceed with the strips, with the templates, or directly on the board, or using this to determine their actual answer. They have the right, of course, to change their answer from their guess. Just as in literacy we can change our predictions as we read on. They will be expected, as these fraction card numbers match the numbers on their pages over the course of a few days coming to this center, to be able to complete this front and back. There are 10 questions where we compare 2 fractions. The most important thing to me in this center is that there's discourse, that the students talk to each other using the various talk moves that we use in literacy, social studies, math, science, adding on, agreeing, disagreeing, justifying, trying to figure out if it makes sense, if it's even reasonable to say what they're saying. And then they will be expected to write down their justification for their choice of whether the fraction is greater than, less than, or equal to the other fraction on these lines provided. So I'm going to take an example. They come along and they pick a fraction card. So the fraction cards clearly say do not write on cards. We take the first one out. They can go in order or they do not have to go in order. One of the two students will take one out. So I have 4/5 compared to 5/9. I'm going to put it up there. 4/5 compared to 5/9. So I'm going to make an educated guess. I think that as an adult, 4/5 is closer to 1 than 5/9 is. So I'm going to jot down 4/5. The children might have a little bit more of a difficult time. Certainly some children with special needs would have a more difficult time. And in mentioning special needs, the reason that I put the pictures of the directions on here also is to help students with special needs. It's really important to me, and to help ESOL students as well navigate the station. So 4/5 compared to 5/9. I might take the number 1. There's my 1 strip. I have 5ths, but I do not have 9ths. So I'm going to take my 5ths. There's 2 sets. I'm going to use 5 of them. 2. Bear with me. 3. 4. 5/5. We're comparing 4/5 to 5/9. So I see that if I was to draw a number line, because this does represent a number line, 0 to 1. If I draw through it, my 4/5 is exactly here. Now, to make the 9ths, because I do not have 9ths, I am going to draw another number line below it. 0 in the same place, 1 in the same place. What I would hope the students would be able to come to by talking with one another is that 5/9 is close to a half. It's somewhere around a half, but they're not sure where. In thinking about it and conversing further, I'd like them to come to the conclusion that 4/9 is not quite, 5/9 is slightly over a half, because 4.5/9 would be halfway between 0 and 9/9. So I'm going to put my halfway mark in. So this would be, because I'm straight down, this would be 1/2. If 4/9 comes slightly before the half and 5/9 comes slightly after the half, I should be safe to put in 4/9 before the half and 5/9 in an equal space after the half. This is not, of course, completely accurate, but this is to give them a sense of what they're doing by creating it themselves. So now I'm going to fill in the differences. So between 0 and 4/9, I have the halfway mark between those two fractions, which would be 2/9. Then I can fill in 1/9 and 3/9. I have the 5/9. Halfway mark between 5/9 and 1 would be 7/9, and put in my dashes in between. Now to come to answer the question again. The question was, and the fraction card is here, and their student activity sheet is here. Insert greater than, less than, or equals to between each pair of fractions and explain. So 4/5 is going to be up here, as we found earlier. 5/9 is over here. So 4/5 clearly is greater than 5/9. And the discussion that I had with my invisible partner, I hope that the students the children would write down in their justification and explanation area those reasons. Then they would go on to a second card. I'm not going to go through the whole procedure again, but just so you know that they're getting hopefully a better sense of fractions. They could take these down or leave them up, put them away, and they could put up the the template. It doesn't really matter which way it goes. They would choose the second fraction card. The second child would choose this fraction card. 4/7 compared to 5/7, definitely a little easier. The third one, certainly a little harder. 3/8 compared to 4/10. 5/3 compared to 5/8. I really like that one because it takes them past the number 1 in the 5/3. That will baffle some of them, even though we have covered it in class. That will be a very good exercise. So that is my developing fraction sense station, and I hope that the children will get a lot out of it. In the practice that they will have 25 minutes on one day and 25 minutes or 20 minutes probably on 2 other days. Thank you.